Okay, wonderful. Welcome. This is Friday, oh my goodness, Friday, July 14th. And this is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, the second semester. So I'm calling it 2017.2. And we're getting going on level one material. And level one material, just grabbing some of my little sculptures over here. And I hope that I just want to make certain everyone can hear me properly. Yes, you can all hear me properly. Good. If there's any issues, just say it in the chat if you cannot hear or see me properly. Okay, welcome. This is level one material. I'm going to just scoot back a little bit more. The whole idea is that learning about your chakras or energy centers of your body is empowering. That this is information that tells you about your system of reality creation. That this is not in any way meant to be diminishing or disempowering to you. I'll just start off with this. I think there's some fad going around right now that people are calling quote unquote chakra removal. I cannot imagine removing one's chakras. I cannot imagine the wisdom of doing so. And I'll get into why. I mean, what the chakras are essentially layers of our own consciousness. And let me just begin by pulling up a thing. I'll scoot forward and pull up an image. Get into my whiteboard here. Oh, sorry. Do things properly. Get to my photos. I've got everything meticulously organized, guys, but I know I'm making my squinty, scrolly faces here. Okay, so starting off with, hey, this is a very basic image of what the chakras of the body are. So there are different layers of reality that are represented by the different colors of the chakras or energy centers. And so, okay, anybody who's done the recorded homework lessons, this is wrap up, this is repetition for you. Anyone who's completely new to this material, this is your first time diving in. These are the layers of reality. And I'll get a little thing so I can highlight here. Yeah, you can see that. So this entire aspect of you, we are an emanation from the star. We are an emanation from the sun. This is what I'm trying to get across with so many laborious words here. The idea that this is your body that is made up of light waves. I'm just trying to highlight it there. We have the physical body, this anthropomorphic form that I'm highlighting in red over here, and that is made up of physical matter. We have this entire other structure to our body that is made up of what we could call time, or pure energy, or pure consciousness, or awareness, or light. And the whole point is, I'm going to stop so you can look at my face again, that we are emanations from the sun, which is our nearest star. So the sun has a particular color recipe. And this is also why I would not advise for removing your chakras. So the whole, and I'll just hold this up super fast so that you can see it, and I can also bring this up better so that you can see it in there. But this is who you are. This is the recipe of who you are. And that I wouldn't think that it is wise or good in order to get rid of that recipe. I'm trying to say with so many words that each one of us is a miniature fractal version of the stellar network and is connected to that world of light and pure consciousness and pure awareness. So what I'm understanding is that many people on this planet right now are dealing with trauma and abuse, and their bodies have been harmed and their energy centers have been harmed. And I understand that a lot of people are just like, they want to reject everything. They want to get rid of everything. But this isn't, I don't advocate for this. It's like saying if you have a problem with your blood, like just get rid of all your blood. If you have a problem with your big toe, just chop off your big toe. I know that there's this idea in medicine in this world that is an effective way to treat the body, but I don't think that that's an effective way to treat the body. And okay, for anyone who's been following this presentation that I do for any amount of time, just squinting and scrolling and going back to a picture of the chakras for everyone. This yellow layer here, let's see if I can get a pen, there we go. I know I'm highlighting it in red, but I'm pointing to this yellow layer here. That yellow layer represents what is known as quote unquote the human mind. But I've said many times that it does not originate from humanity, and it does not serve humanity, and it is a hacked operating system. And that is the mind that is installed in each one of us in early childhood and infancy. Like this is basically when we learn how to think like the people around us, when we learn how to express ourselves through the virus of language. We are getting this operating system installed in our minds, an organizational thought structure that allows us to integrate with the rest of humanity. And it's a hacked operating system in exactly the same way that Windows 10 is a hacked operating system. When you install Windows 10 on your PC, it allows the Windows Corporation to read your emails and access all of your private files and do all sorts of things. So when humanity, a long, long time ago, lost its higher faculties and it got installed with this human operating system that involves verbalized thought and verbalized language as opposed to non-verbalized telepathy, then it made all of the information in that format hackable or accessible to the creators of that software program. I say this all the time. However, my solution, my proposed solution has not been to get rid of the human mind, because there are many beautiful people that exist on this world right now that don't have what we call the human mind, and they're considered to be developmentally disabled, that they cannot think according to the thought structure, the overarching operating system that everyone is running. They cannot communicate. And it's like running a program that no one else can run on their computer. So if each person decided to do that, you would be getting rid of an essential piece of equipment. Much, much better to unhack it. That is the whole point of Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So this is like, I'm trying to say that solutions exist. You don't have to simply say, I don't like being imprisoned, I don't like being constrained, I'm just going to get rid of everything. Because also, let's go through, I'm leaning forward and squinting and scrolling here. Now, let me just grab a whole bunch of different pictures to go through. We'll just grab a whole bunch. Here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. Okay, cool. So, and then a little bit closer. These represent layers of reality, and these represent impulses of information that are coming to us from the source. And when I talk about the source, here I'll use like this bright yellow color. Like, let's say this is the sun. The sun is the nearest star on the stellar network. It's like the nearest cell phone broadcast tower that gives us raw information. And this should be white light, just there's not a white pen, but that white light comes into our, I like to say this is our crown chakra. It's like where we plug into the energy of the cosmos. And then that energy, just like energy that comes from the power station, you don't plug your TV directly into the power station and blow it out. That energy has to be stepped down. It has to be, it has to lose some amount of energy and be slightly distorted as it is slowed down and degraded so that it can then be expressed in the physical. Let me show you another picture and another example of what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see if we can scroll to the next one. Good. This is just a plain line drawing, so hopefully this is a bit more simplified, and you can also see where I'll grab a black color. Each one of these, I'm highlighting, these are these convergence points, and you can see where they come together in the body. So when many teachers talk about the chakras of the body, they just show them as glowing balls of light that kind of go up and down the spine, up the central column of the body. And that's just showing these convergence points. But what you actually have are a whole system of flowing energy fields. And I'm just going to make some very loose gestural drawings, but you'll kind of get the idea that it moves kind of like a figure eight. Kind of like this, going through all of these different energy centers of your body. And that is the pathway that awareness takes coming from the sun. It comes from the sun and the stellar network, and it circulates through all of these different layers of self. So let's very briefly, let's go through this. If you've done the homework, then you know what I'm talking about. So this is a glass piece that died a horrible death when a brick fell on it. But I still have pictures of it. And this dot that is up here that I drew, that is meant to represent the convergence of all of this. When you add up all of this is additive color mixing. Additive color mixing is different than subtractive color mixing. Subtractive color mixing, I feel like I should go back to my face, but I want to show you more pictures. Subtractive color mixing is what happens when we mix together paint. Like, in order to make the colors that are in this painting over here, I had to mix together paint and pigments in a particular way. But if I were painting with pure light, I would act differently. If I were painting with pure, if I took all of the paints in my studio and mixed them all together, it would make muddy blackish brown. But if I took all of the light that is represented in this kind of cone-shaped arrangement here, and I added all of those light waves together, what I would get is white light. This is what I'm trying to say with so many words. So this is the color recipe of what is white light and what is pure integrated unity consciousness. And when we break down the constituent elements of that integrated unity consciousness, this is what we get. And the proportions matter. So let me go through what the proportions are. Because if we were, let me switch to yellow so you can see it a little bit better. And I don't know if you can, I can't quite get my pen all the way down to highlight, but down here, this red zone, if we say that that is analogous to the integer of 1, then this orange zone over here, oh no guys, watch out, I'm doing math, is 1/2 the size of red. And this yellow is 1/3 of the size of red, and green is 1/4, and turquoise, this light blue, is 1/5, and indigo is 1/6. That's your brow chakra. That's right up here. The size, the wavelength of that aspect of your anatomy is always going to be 1/6 of the size of the overarching frequency of the physical, and then you always have the tiniest little dash of violet at the top. It's always going to be 1/7 the size. So okay, I went through this this is in lesson 1 of the recorded homework lessons rather. The idea of wavelength and frequency, and this is science talk. I didn't invent this. Oh, okay, so I should also say all this. What I was just sharing about the colors of the chakras and the proportions of the chakras, I did not invent that. I merely have perceived that. I had to learn this. This is like a language. I'm just drinking some water. I had to learn this exactly like everybody learns everything from the beginning, which is like when you go to school and you're a little kid, you learn these are what letters are, and then you learn letters get arranged together. Someone's a furry overlord, and I'm just going to mute everyone, not because I don't love you, but just because of the distraction. But I love dogs. Pet your furry overlord for me. But where were we going with all of that? I got a little bit distracted. My apologies. White light, chakras of the body, and how all of these aspects of self add up to unity consciousness. Yes. Oh, sorry, just circulating back around. I got a little bit off track, but I will get back on track. The language. When you first go to school, you learn the letters of the alphabet, and then you learn how the letters of the alphabet fit together into words, and then you learn how words fit together into a sentence. Sentences have syntax, and sentences make paragraphs, and paragraphs make sense. And we learn the grammar of all of this. In exactly the same way, I had to learn this language, just like a little kid. I started from the very beginning. I'll show you a different picture. Sorry, I'm ducking off camera so much. I learned the basic shapes of the torus. So this is a scratch board. The scratch board has a black outer surface and a white undersurface, and I scratch it out like an etching, and then I use watercolors in order to make these fine lines colored. You can see this is the shape of the torus. This is just like, oh, that is beautiful. I love that you're wearing your FRL earrings, and I joke with everyone that rainbow goes with everything. These are you know, decorative reminders. They won't necessarily turn you into a flying rainbow lasagna to wear them, but they are decorative reminders. And this is the whole idea. We're learning this basic shape that we all come with, and then when you add an additional dimension, you add an additional degree of freedom, and that is what transforms into this. And the basic question everyone should ask, like, Aurora, why should I want to do this? How does it help me go to the grocery store? How does it help me in any way? The answer is it transforms your experience of time. So I'll go into all of this too, and I'll hold this up like while I talk. I'll hold this up like my little kid or something. So right now there's a lot of people on Earth that are searching for something like free energy, quote unquote, or some alternative source of energy, something other than combustion, something big that can transform society and improve people's lives and improve our life on this planet. And mostly people are looking for something that, I'm pointing to my light bulb over there, gesturing, that will make electrons flow in a light bulb. Like, Aurora, I want a non-polluting source of energy that I can make, you know, light up my room with my light bulb. However, there are much more interesting things that we can do once we start to explore these higher dimensional concepts. And that's what I'm going to get into level 2, which is basically once we understand and master this structure of reality, how can we transform our physical and non-physical structure into this crystalline structure that allows us to transcend this level of reality. Because the truth is, I'm interested in way more than just how to make more electrons flow through my light bulb so that I can light up my room. I'm interested in transcending the limits of this level of reality, and that is what we can do. Just grabbing my flying rainbow lasagna with the flying rainbow lasagna, okay? So this is the basic, like, Aurora, math is laborious. I can put my shoulders down. Math is laborious. Why should I even do this? Put your shoulders back, everyone. The answer is because learning these basic proportions and what this is allows you to transform into this, and this gives you greater freedom. All the time, let me put my little thing down. All the time I use this analogy that we are like a little ant, and a little ant doesn't have wings. And if this is a leaf on a plant, the little ant has to walk all the way up the stem and all the way across the surface of the leaf until it gets to the edge. And that's, you know, not like a butterfly. A butterfly can just fly directly there all the way to the edge, doesn't have to walk all the way on up. Humans are like the little ant. Humans are stuck to the surface of time. You wake up in the morning and you have to go all the way through brunch and lunch, and then get to dinner and then get to bedtime. You can't wake up in the morning and fly directly to bedtime. That most humans would say, oh, that's impossible. We can't do that. That is because of the structure of time. And so, okay, let's get into, I don't know if I did this, I'll do this very briefly. So red, this represents the physical layer of reality. So what we have, I know I'm jumping around too much. Focus on in. At the center of this sculpture, that convergence point that I'm putting right up there close to the camera where you can see that central convergence point, that is the source, and it's also the destination. It's where all of this white light comes from. That's where all this unity consciousness comes from. And it travels on the stellar network, and it travels through these various layers of density. So when you look at this, let me scroll to a picture that I can draw a diagram on. I'm getting all excited here. Squinting and scrolling. So this is a detail from Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So this is a person that has been lasagnified. If you can imagine that, just like when we have the conventions of perspective, here I'm just choosing a color that you can see, like a nice bright yellow. If this is my canvas on a regular canvas, and I draw with the conventions of perspective, here's the horizon line, and oh look, I'm drawing a road going off into the distance. This is a road going in the distance, and here's the sun, and here's some mountains, right? So this is the convention of perspective. You're understanding that as something is getting smaller in the page, it's going further and further away from where you are. So now as I look at this drawing over here, I'm using a similar aspect of perspective, where you can imagine that this is a lot like that road going off into the distance. Here I'm making the dotted line going off into the distance. That if you can imagine the bigger, here I'm highlighting this big giant waveform that is part of the outer edge of the lasagna shape that is in the foreground, that is close to us, that's the physical realm. And as we go into the emotional, intellectual, heart realm, this is the truth. This is that layer of your brow chakra with pure insight, and this is this layer of violet where you plug in to the giant cosmic power source. As we're going, you can consider it upward. I know this is an upward pointing arrow, but I'm trying to get across the idea that we are going away from us in time, that this area, this violet area over here, is a reverberation, like a waveform that happened a long time ago. This isn't a long time ago wave. And then this one happened a little bit sooner, and then this one happened a little bit sooner, and sooner, and sooner, and sooner, until we got to the physical. I'm just trying to make a big, giant physical wave. The physical wave, that is the wave that happened the most recently. So, okay, what I'm trying to get across is the idea that we as physical humans, the physical manifestation, that is like the last waveform into this level of density, that we had all of these other layers of awareness that came into different layers of density, and those were faster. And that this layer of physical emanation or manifestation was the slowest one, but this is the one that almost everyone is focused on. So in the recorded homework lesson, I get a little bit into objective materialism. I'm just going to hold this up for gesturing. Objective materialism. This is coming out of the work of Newton, the physicist, and he's a physicist because he described the physical world. And that was coming out of a time where people were very superstitious, and they didn't just use their five senses to consensually explore and describe the physical world. They talked all about witches and demons and supernatural and occult things, and that got a little bit shady. So Newton said, let's clean this up. Let's just all talk about what we can share and understand with our five senses. And then we'll develop a set of rules about how the physical world works just based on our five physical senses. And that's very sensible, and it was a step up from what was going on in the past, but it's very limiting because we have this whole entire other aspect of self beyond the physical. And if I hold up that picture again, it's red is our physical layer, and all of the other colors of the rainbow represent all of our other aspects of self. So for many hundreds of years, humanity has been only focusing on this red layer of reality, or red layer of density, or red level of consciousness, or information and energy that is moving at this rate. All of these other colors represent information and energy that is moving at a different rate. So after all of this explanation, now that you guys are becoming much more expert about what the chakras are and what the layers of the body are, doesn't it seem rather unfathomable to remove this in any way? That would be like saying, you know, I just want to have the veneer of my house. I want to remove the foundation. I want to remove all the bricks. I want to remove all of the sheetrock. I want to remove all the wiring and everything that holds it up. And I just want to have, you know, like the outer shingles left on the house. That's not going to work. That house is not going to be in existence because the red, this outer veneer of shingles that we see, is the final manifestation that is upheld by all of these other layers of reality that are absolutely crucial, but which are not visible to the physical eye. Oh my goodness, they're not part of the world of five senses, five senses sensorium. So now, in order for us to become multidimensional, full spectrum humans, we have to activate our higher faculties and actually begin to perceive these higher levels of reality. So in order, let's talk about activating the higher faculties. And I skipped over this one particular picture very fast, but I want to go back to it. And again, I'm not just reiterating everything that is in the recorded lessons, and I feel like I jump around a lot in my presentation. Sometimes I'm a little bit non-linear here. Take the recorded lessons, and that way things will make, I think, will make a lot of good sense. Then where's that pencil? I'm trying to look for where the pencil thing is. How come I can't get going on the pencil? Oh, this is so annoying. Well, I'm trying to make here we go. Sorry, guys. Now we'll get back to it. Okay, good. I think, yep, everything is working right. Thank you for reassuring me. I'm turning to the right color now that I can actually use the pencil. So what I'm highlighting here, this big circle that I just drew in the center of the chest, that is where the heart chakra is. And you can see that it's somewhat analogous to where the heart and lungs are physically in the body. And that physical pumping heart structure creates this enormous electromagnetic field that goes all the way around the body. And it creates this type of, well, it's like a swirling vortex that is almost like a place where the wheels of the next highest chakra can nest within. And now in blue, I am highlighting the wheels of the indigo chakra. Oops, here, I'm trying to make this thing work good. So these blue wheels, they look almost kind of like car tires, and you could see exactly how they roll around within that track of the green energy field that is created by the functioning of the heart. All right, now that I've delineated that to you and everything, good, all is well, all is working, just making sure that all of my stuff is working properly technologically. That's when I look over to the side, I'm just making sure that everything is still recording properly. Don't worry, I'm not losing my face either. How do you activate your higher faculties so that you can become a multidimensional human, so that you can read the maps, so that you can begin to learn the musical score of the cosmos and begin to do all this? The answer is cultivating unconditional love. So this level of the chest, I speak about this in the recorded homework lesson. Get rid of this techno notification. Up until this point in human history, and human history is basically the story of human enslavement over the past 10,000 years. Over the past 10,000 years, humanity has pretty much been defined by its first three layers of density and awareness and consciousness. You're a physical body. Hey, we can all agree that's a physical body. I'm touching it right now. Mammalian emotions. Almost everyone, even the most staunch objective materialist, has felt anger or hatred or sorrow. Almost everyone has cried. That's that level of denser mammalian emotion. And like I was speaking about before, almost everyone here has downloaded the operating system known as the human mind, OS human, and that's what the yellow level is. And for many thousands of years, that was what humanity was defined as, your physical body with some mammalian emotions that mitigate the pure survival aspect of self, and with a very thin smear of human cerebral cortex on top of that, that mitigates the mammalian emotions. And human society was structured to look at this green level as if that is the pinnacle, as if that is the totality of achievement. We can see it goes way up to here. It's not the pinnacle at all. But it was the idea that reaching unconditional love, that's only for yogis and masters and gurus and special people that live on a mountaintop, or they spend their whole day sitting cross-legged and meditating. And I'm trying to tell you, no, that is all totally erroneous and false and backwards and inverted. That unconditional love, that is our baseline. That is what we were programmed in as our foundation of who we are supposed to be like. And humanity has been severely suppressed. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Tuning your body. Your body is your instrument. And for a very long time, imagine the strings on a guitar being tuned too low and they don't sound good. Tune your strings. We're not supposed to be tuned to those lower vibrations. We're actually supposed to be tuned to unconditional love. Unconditional love is literally a tone, la, 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 like a musical tone. That's why I call this the interdimensional language of color, line, shape, form, movement, texture, and tone. And tone means the sound that you make when you fly through time at exactly the right rate. So, and I'm looking at the clock as I'm talking about time. So we're supposed to fly through time at 1 moment per moment, like that old Pac-Man game. We're chomping 1 dot per moment, 1 dot, 1 dot, 1 dot. And that the challenge is because we have this hacked human operating system. Many people during their moments of going through time are busy thinking about the past. Maybe they are thinking about something bad that happened to them in 3rd grade. Someone pushed you on the playground, you got a skinned knee in 3rd grade. That might have been several decades ago, but you're thinking about it right now. You're not thinking about what you're doing right now. And some people have anxiety, stretching forward into the future, where they're sitting in this chair in this moment right now, but they're thinking, what's going to happen next Tuesday? What's going to happen in 3 weeks? What's going to happen in 3 years? What did Nostradamus predict will happen? Like this, all this reaching forward, all of that is possible through the human mind. Animals are different. Animals have a different level of mind. And when we go back to our true mind, it is not a verbalized mind, and it is not a mind that anticipates the future or clings to the past. Our true mind is the mind, I describe it as being in bliss, but don't misinterpret me as one of these hopium people that tries to just get everybody to just sit in meditation and feel bliss and everything will be fine. No. Bliss, however, is a symptom that you are moving through time at exactly the right rate in a loving manner, 1 moment per moment. So I experience bliss when I'm making my paintings. When I am totally in my artistic zone, I've got all my paints all set up, I got my music going, I'm painting, I don't have to think, pick up the red brush, dip it over here, move it over here. Or likewise, when I'm playing the piano, and when I'm working on a song that I'm good at, that I've already practiced and that I already know, not when I'm really stretching and trying to learn something new, but when it's something that I already know, then I'm in bliss, I'm in the zone. Or if you're an athlete, if you're a really good runner and you run 10 miles a day and you're like just hitting mile 3 and you're like hitting your stride, you're feeling great, you're not huffing and puffing, and you're not sweating too much, and you're just in your groove going along. Or whatever is the thing that you do, like I mentioned art and music because those are the things that I do, but whatever is your particular expertise, when you are functioning at optimum levels, when you're not bored, when you're not stressed, when you're not being traumatized or reliving traumatic, negative emotional experiences, then we get to be in bliss. And that is our true mind. And our true mind is not a verbalized mind. So the way that we activate our higher faculties is by getting to the level of mindfulness or meditation where we're in bliss. Literally, you have to get the gears of your body, these chakras that I'm pointing at, these, whatever, I don't want to interrupt the flow in order to get up another picture. But these chakras, they are spinning wheels of energy, just like bicycle wheels. And if your bicycle wheels have enough momentum, you have a lot more stability as you are flowing down the road. Same thing with your flight through time. So I haven't even gotten into how this torus shape is shaped like the time field. We'll do that next week. I'm just right now at this moment talking about layers of consciousness and how these different layers of consciousness are defining your trajectory through time. And let me just drink a little something. And then I'll get into also transforming into the flying rainbow lasagna, even though this is very early on to start doing that. Okay, because we have all of these different, okay, blah, blah, blah. Yes, the yellow layer of your mind and your physicality and your non-physicality is a hacked operating system, but that doesn't mean you should simply get rid of all of your chakras. Just like if I had a problem with my arm, a very clunky solution would be to just chop off the arm. Much better to actually heal or restructure the aspects of your body that are not functioning optimally. So let me also relate that these energy centers or chakras of your body, these relate to the dance of your DNA and your trajectory through time. So we've been chatting here for more than 20 minutes. I'm not in the same body that I was in 20 minutes ago. And neither are any of you. You're not in the same body. If we started at 3:45, you're not in the body of 3:45. You're now in the body of 3:51. And you have jumped from the body of 3:45 to the body of 3:46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51. We had to jump all those times. And none of us sat here in our chairs or wherever we are and said, okay, get ready, jump now. It is something that is happening on a cellular level. So I'll draw it out with the whiteboard. Here we go, get the whiteboard going. If these are, I joke, train cars of reality, like that old Twilight Zone. Each one of these red squares is like a train car of reality. And this green squiggle is the integument that ties you together from moment to moment. Oh yeah, because this is moment number 1, and this is moment number 2. Look, this is the hands of a clock going around the clock. Moment number 3, moment number 4. We're moving through time. And these curly cues in the middle there, that is the movement of your DNA. That your DNA, I'll go back to my face, put down my little drawing over here where it was still. Your DNA is constantly, put down my pen. Your DNA is constantly doing a dance. It is not a static object. In the nucleus of your cells, you have your cell membrane, and you have all sorts of intracellular stuff, and then you have the nucleus, and I'll get to questions. You have inside of the nucleus, your DNA is unfurled so that it may be accessed by the RNA messengers. For the most part of DNA's life, it is unfurled. And that means that it is like a sweater that has been unknit. All the loops have been pulled out. And it exists as a state of chromatin. And chromatin is just lots and lots and lots of stuff in the DNA library. And so it is constantly, in order to be accessed, it's like a scroll that was tightly curled up and has lots of potential energy, it has to be unrolled. And in order to do that, there are these special enzymes that are snippers that snip little sections so that they can be unrolled so the tension can unroll them. So now I want you to imagine in your own cellular structure on the level of the nucleus, inside of that nucleus of all of your cells, you have vibrating strings, just like guitar strings or just like piano strings. And they're constantly moving and dancing and morphing, and they do-si-do, and they do the watusi, and they do the waltz, and they swing back and forth. They do all of these different dance patterns. And humanity has been defined by its dance patterns up until this point and limited by, I say this all the time, humanity is in the domesticated format. Right now, what we are experiencing is our domesticated human organic multicellular format. And oh, P.S., I mean, for anyone who's new to me and what I teach about and where I'm coming from, I'm a walk-in, I'm a galactic walk-in, I'm a stellar presence that came into this genetic container by using the oscillation maneuver called the flying rainbow lasagna. And I speak about this because it's provenance that I learned very early on, just jumping around here. I learned very early on that if I just wanted to be to people like, here, have a lasagna. They're like, wait a minute, I'm skeptical. What is this? Where did it come from? Who are you? Why should I take this from you? And so the whole answer is I had to be able to communicate all of this backstory of where this came from so that humanity would even accept this. And I offer this as a solution to the limitations that are presently being imposed upon humanity. So this is the domesticated format. The non-domesticated format of the human body would mean the higher faculties are activated and do not require plants or animals as intermediaries for your ingestion of light. That is the level of domestication that we have all experienced here. And I had to learn to deal with it. When I first got into this body, I thought, I'll eat nothing but pure light. And I didn't understand that that was not enough. And then I had to learn, oh, that here we have to actually eat physical food too. And boy, wouldn't it have it been so much more convenient if I could just save on my grocery bills by eating nothing but pure light. However, we're in transition. That's the whole point. I have transformed and metamorphosized this physical structure to a certain extent. And this planet has transformed, and human society has transformed. And like I said, I'm encouraging as many people as possible to dance like flying rainbow lasagnas, because this means more and more musicians in the band are tuning up their instruments and creating the realities they wish to create. As I said earlier in this recording, in this particular broadcast, in the dark ages, women had babies, they were totally disempowered, they had to have sex, they didn't get to choose to have sex, they had to have babies, they didn't get to choose when they had babies. Humans right now are willy-nilly, without their own control, creating reality. This is how we can explain things like babies being born with brain cancer. None of us actually sit around and say, I think I'm going to think about some babies being born with brain cancer. That's a great idea. I'd really like to manifest that. None of us do that. However, our creative mental energy is being harvested and misapplied to many different things that we would consider to be unintentional reality structures. And those unintentional reality structures include people who are diseased, environmental degradation, and also lack of fulfillment, people not being in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. I know that there's lots and lots of questions in the chat, so I'm going to go to the questions in the chat before I come to a conclusion on this recording. But I just want to finish making the point that the way that humans begin to reawaken their higher faculties is by first raising their energy to the level of unconditional love, which is like the balance point. That's the midpoint, not the pinnacle. That's the balance point that creates the foundation for all of these other higher faculties to rest upon. And the higher faculties, that's truth, abstract truth, insight. Insight is information that is not clothed with words, and the connection to higher dimensional, less dense realms. That's all that means. When I'm pointing up here, when we're pointing up here, it is not saying like a perfected divine being, a long man with a beard, any kind of conception of God like that. It is a area of greater organization, because we're talking about this spectrum or octaves that continue in every direction. So we come into the physical realm. The physical realm is a certain level of density and disorganization. We can move towards greater levels of organization, and that's what we are doing by bringing our energy from the red through the orange all the way up to the violet and back, connecting to that source. And also, that's not the only level of this journey. There's a level of density that is even denser than the physical realm, and that is called the Bose-Einstein condensate. And that is an aspect of physics where matter that is slowed down through coldness to almost having no movement and being at almost 0 degrees Kelvin also achieves unity consciousness. So this is also the basic concept of flying rainbow lasagna, and I will get more into this as the semester goes on. I tried to say, for anyone who's a beginner, you've been with me for this, lesson 1 and everything, introduction and all of that. Please don't be frustrated that it takes time to become a genetic virtuoso. It takes time. I use this joke all the time, that I was at a child's birthday party and this little girl got a violin. She was so excited. She picked it up and she saw it back and forth and made horrible screeching music. And she handed it back to the person that gave it to her and said, "It's broken, like take it back." And we all laughed like, "Oh, you're so cute." But it's the truth. It takes time to learn to play a violin. It takes time to tune our physical body. It takes time to learn how to play our individual strings of DNA, the way we would play a musical instrument. And then once you become proficient in your own instrument, it takes time to learn how to jam with others. That's the whole point of becoming musically literate. It's the whole point of learning these math proportions so that you know what's the next note that is supposed to be played, what's the next color that is supposed to be played. So all of this, when I'm talking about the introduction, the foundation of understanding, it's worth building the foundation, because when you do that, it's just like learning this is what a C is, what a D is. It allows you to better jam and communicate with the other musicians that are also out there. So that is what this is all about, learning the basics of what energy centers or chakras are, what layers of reality do they represent, how do they all fit together, and why do they all fit together? And then once we've established that, then let's add the next cool thing, which is how we make it dance in a new dance format called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And this is all about transforming time. So now I'll scoot closer, and let me get to questions, because I see that there's lots of things going on here in the chat. Okay. Oh my goodness. All righty. Oh, and thank you for everyone who's complimented my dress. That is wonderful. This person says, what if you already have a body part removed, breast cancer survivor for 8 years? Let me just close the chat and then I'll show you my face. Here we go. Basically, the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is a way to transcend physical limitations. And so I offer my own experience as a template for other people's experiences of reality and having a body. This body, I'm in it because the previous occupant died. There's literal brain damage. There was literal cellular restructuring and brain changes in this body. And instead of saying, well, I just can't do math because the math pathways have been destroyed or harmed in some way, what I learned was, like that little ant becoming a butterfly, jumping to the end of the leaf instead of having to go through all the intervening rigmarole. I learned how to fold the fabric of space, time, and consciousness so that my neural impulses didn't have to go across all the dead ends, jump up and over the dead ends, or fold time, space, and consciousness so that the dead ends are shorter. So what I'm trying to say is that each one of us has the capacity to use Flying Rainbow Lasagna to transcend limitations. So this means if a person is an amputee and if they do not have legs that they were originally born with, there's a way to transcend those limitations. That might mean getting some really awesome prosthetic or something like that. But I truly believe that there is a way for everybody to do the things that we need to do, even if there has been a physical loss. And so part of it is believing that it can be done. So here's another good example that I think is very Flying Rainbow Lasagna, a recent story of a young woman who was very musically gifted and she had a disease that destroyed her hearing, but she is still becoming a professional musician. She uses a visual visualizer to be able to tell whether she's singing the right note, and she also uses other like muscle memory and other things like that. So she lost her hearing, but she didn't say, oh, well, I can't be a musician. She is doing it anyway. So that's the solution, is do it anyway. If a person has lost their legs, find a way to do it anyway, which usually means getting some kind of prosthesis or whatever. Like, don't be concerned about having to use some form of technology to transcend. Like I always say to people, I'm not a transhumanist. However, if you have some deficit, yes, you can use some, invention to be able to get over and transcend what the limitation is. Because it's like, what otherwise otherwise it's just what, not living life or discarding your life. Like, no. So here's the next effective question for me to answer is, can something like that be healed? So I would say, once we begin to enter a higher level of reality, where we are literally painting with the paintbrush of our mind and manifesting matter, that yes, clearly that we have the capacity to be healed on that level. However, I had to learn when I first got here in 2001 that we're in a transitionary state. And so I wanted to immediately be a light eater, and I had to learn that everyone on this planet and the entire planetary structure and all of the people here are transitioning to being light eaters. So same thing with profound healing. Possibilities for profound healing and cellular regeneration do exist, and we are in transition to that point where we will be able to do that. So maintain the hope that that can happen, and also figure out effective solutions for getting through the moment right now, because I had to learn I'm gonna have to eat physical food by being here, and also I wear corrective lenses. I wanted my eyes to be instantaneously healed, but brain damage changed my eyesight a lot. However, I learned, okay, if I want to see clearly, I'm gonna need to get some corrective lenses. So I use my compensatory modes, and I'm very honest about that. I'm not not going to deny or pretend that I'm something other than what I am. So I'm in transition. I'm healing too. It is the journey that we are all on together. It's a beautiful journey. So wait. And now I'm scrolling back. This is really good. This person says, can we jump in back part of body, like the body of one day before? So when you begin to become a genetic virtuoso, what you learn is that you can take scoops from what I call the genetic buffet. If there was an aspect of your body from the body of 359 that you really liked better than the aspect of this body, you can transfer through lateral gene transfer that aspect of self. Or let's say you know someone else who has an aspect of their body that you feel is better arranged than an aspect of your own body. Like you'd like to learn either a talent or a skill or an arrangement for health and vitality that they've got that you don't have, you can take scoops from them. This is just like the genetic mashup. Someone used this analogy for me. DJ music, that a DJ takes a regular song that you like and then can insert into that song a few bars of Mozart or a few bars of Jimi Hendrix, whatever is needed. And so if your own particular genetic structure doesn't have everything that you need, you can either take that inspiration from a previous version of yourself, or how about a parallel version of yourself? One person asked me about recovering from a birth experience that had left them with some neurological trauma in their face, that one of their nerves didn't work. And I suggested, well, maybe you can connect with a version of yourself that was born differently, that didn't have birth trauma and that didn't have a damaged nerve on their face. So these are different approaches. And I like to say with this, Flying Rainbow Lasagna is like a paintbrush. And I don't tell other people what to paint with their paintbrush, but I'll give you ideas of this is what the bristles are, this is what paint is, this is how you do paint mixing. So the idea is I'll give you templates, I'll give you ideas or basic structures, and then I encourage everyone to take it and run with it. And also part of my motivation for this is that the Flying Rainbow Lasagna system is a more powerful system in terms of encryption and vitality and being unpredictable, because essentially what we are doing is fighting against a large artificial intelligence network that has been designed for many thousands of years, that we're at the end of this this trap is being sprung in order to completely diminish human freedom. And instead of falling into the trap and everybody being harvested, you have the opportunity to Flying Rainbow Lasagna, which is completely transcending these limitations and not only not being trapped, but I like to say what we are doing on this planet right now in finding the antidote to these technological difficulties. We're growing the antidote in this petri dish that will then be shared on many other planets and in many other places where artificial intelligence and technology has also run rampant. So this is how we are transcending those limitations of basically wanting to reduce human consciousness, cut humanity off from the innate creative divine capacity, and make humans part of a large technological structure like a virtual reality that does not necessarily connect well and mesh well with the rest of information and consciousness in the cosmos. It's like a little bubble, a false virtual reality. I just need to drink some water and I'll get to more questions. And then I'll stop the record and then I'll go on to level 2 and we'll start a fresh record. But let me just finish the Q&A for all of this. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. All right. I know I'm squinting too when I read these. This person says, how to dance to 7.8 hertz frequency when we are awake in beta state of consciousness. So when I do, we'll do a whole extensive teaching about the exact dance movement. But when I do this dance, it is literally a dance on the subcellular level. So just like learning any music, or when I first started to learn the piano, what I did was I learned by ear and I just played the beat and I didn't even know what the notes were. And then as I got better and I got more organized, I could hear, oh, that's that note, I'm gonna match that note. And then I got better, I could read the music and I could anticipate, I could say, oh, the next note's gonna be this, I can see what the next note is going to be. That is similar to the way that people can learn how to dance like a Flying Rainbow Lasagna, because the symphony of life is doing this dance. And at first what you can do is just bop along. You don't have to know all the notes and all the dance steps. And then as you become more adept, you can say, oh wait, I now can play along. I can hear that note. I know the next note is supposed to be this. And as you learn more music theory, you will also be able to anticipate and make your own DNA. And when I'm talking about DNA movements and dance movements, I'm talking about experiences in time, because this is the train cars of reality. We're talking about becoming genetic virtuosos. That means creating reality. When you experience a synchronicity, that is like the great conductor saying, Good, you have played the right note. You hit your mark. You played on the beat and you played the right note. And our life would be one long, endless, beautiful synchronicity if we were all the musicians that we are meant to be, playing the right notes and saying the right things. And that includes everything on a cellular level, in the microbes of your tummy, with the atoms of your body, and with all of your macroscopic interpersonal interactions with other beings, with other humans and other plants and animals on Earth. Oh yes, oh yes. Okay, so this person says, oh wait, I don't want to miss two people. This person's got a good question. Is each chakra linked to a particular planet? Is that how each chakra is hacked and inverted? Would it be correct to assume that the FRL is a way around the hack? Yes, it is correct to presume that the FRL is the way around the hack. If our solar system were unperturbed, then we could say there is a direct correlation between each chakra of the body and each planet in our solar system. However, our solar system has been perturbed. That's like saying we have a guitar. I'm not with my old furry overlord, but I got the new furry overlord here that is looking for attention. I think this is the funniest thing in the world. So imagine if we had a guitar that is analogous to our current solar system and some of the strings aren't even there. That we've got a planet that used to be a planet that is currently an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. That's a broken string. And Mars is supposed to have a magnetosphere and it doesn't, that's a broken string. And same thing with Venus. Why do we have these broken planets that are supposed to have magnetospheres but don't actually have them? So the answer is someone came along and smashed a perfectly good guitar, and we are the next string on that unfortunate instrument that is being affected and infected. That's why, please, everybody, Flying Rainbow Lasagna, do this, embody it as much as you possibly can. What we do on this planet has amazing reverberation, repercussions on many other places. And let me just go to the next. There was a good question back here. This person says, can you give us an example of how to open one DNA sequence with your device? Yes, I can. And you know what? I'm going to scroll and I'm going to give you a picture. And I'm also going to say that I will go more into this in a subsequent lesson because I have a whole lesson that is all about this and a whole animation that is all about this. But basically, when DNA is being split apart, it is usually twined together and it is split apart almost into a Y shape. And let's see if I can draw this. There's a little pencil here. All right, so ordinarily it's furled together like this, but we have it now split apart into a Y shape. Here's one part, here's the other Y, change to different colors. Here's a Y, and here's the other Y sticking down like this. And ordinarily, that is only meant, that little space in between where I'm highlighting in yellow, that's meant to be just only there for a moment. When we put the Flying Rainbow Lasagna here, it creates a placeholder, a genetic placeholder, a higher dimensional, invisible genetic placeholder that allows ordinarily these little, I'm trying to highlight them, you can't even see. These little amino acids can only dance with their partners across from them. But when we put the Flying Rainbow Lasagna genetic oscillation in there, what we're able to do is begin to connect in new patterns and create new dance partners, new dance movements. I like to say the do-si-do. You are bored with your partner. It's always do-si-do with your partner across the way. If you're bored with them, all of a sudden you can dance with a different partner over there or a different partner over there. And when you get really good as a genetic virtuoso, you can dance with a different genetic dance partner that's not even in your own body, that's in one of your own versions of your own body across time, or a different person, or a different molecular structure. So it is basically opening you up to new variables. And I say also that it is like a pencil with an eraser for your DNA, where you can erase out the tendencies, erase out cancer, erase out chronological aging and decrepitude, and write in health and vitality for many years and all the other things that we would like to be experiencing. Let me get to more questions. Okay. This person says, I'm not able to visualize how this device helped the deaf woman. I don't know if she knew about Flying Rainbow Lasagna at all. I used her as an example of a person that lost some physical ability and yet was able to transcend that limitation and follow their dream anyway. So, you know something, I'm a visual artist, but even if I lost my eyesight, I would still be a visual artist. I would find some way to do it, even if I didn't have my eyesight. That's the whole idea of flying rainbow lasagna. So whatever, if a person has lost an aspect of their physical body, that there is a way to still do all the behaviors or learn all the things that you're supposed to learn or express all the things you're supposed to express, even if you don't necessarily have the physical structures to do so. That's the idea. It's like a challenge to be able to do it. Okay, so this person is saying, so you're saying, is your device answer for long disease? I cannot understand your question. Life stopped at age of 25th year, even if a person is at 50 years of age. I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. This person says, in essence, we have the necessary tech within, and in reality, really don't need physical tech. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, 10 million different ways that we agree with you on that. So, okay, I say it all the time. I'm not a transhumanist. And what I'm sharing is information that you don't need anything more than your birthday suit in order to use and transcend all of these limitations. So I'm not saying you need to drink a magic elixir or build a special machine or do anything other than be an organic multicellular human living on Earth with the sun here in the sky and, you know, eating some food. And I usually use music in order to inspire my dance. Those are the only things you need to do the flying rainbow lasagna dance. And also, like I characterize myself, I'm not saying I charge you a subscription fee or I've got this patented and you're only allowed to do this dance with your DNA if you send me $5 a month. It's not like that at all. Like I ask people to support the webinars that I do and the intellectual, like the artwork and the creativity that I send out. However, I don't ask for anything more than credit as being the originator of the idea of the lasagna. I really offer this as open source code for everybody's each individual DNA journey, that if you can take this and apply it to your own body, you can transcend many different limitations and achieve additional degrees of freedom. And that's what I really want everybody to do. So I may be the first flying rainbow lasagna. I'm the first person that ever did this, but I'm not the only. And that's why I have this whole class. That's why I teach people about this. Someone once said to me rather craftily, they were like, Aurora, do you even think that other people can even understand this, can even do the flying rainbow lasagna? And I was like, of course. If I didn't actually think, it's like playing the piano. If I didn't actually think that other people could learn to play the piano, I wouldn't try to teach other people to do it. But I learned to do it. You can learn how to do it too. It's not an impossible task. So what, I'm going to get to the rest of the chat. Oh, yes, that's going to be wonderful. Nicole asks, I don't understand what it means when people talk about chakra removal. So I'm not exactly sure what it means either. And I'll do this as the last question for level 1, and then I'll move on to level 2. Yes, I think that some people are feeling that their chakras are diseased, or that they have overlays, or that they have infections, or that they have software programs running in their body that they do not want to be there. And I encourage everyone to be healed, to remove whatever overlays or infections or infestations of consciousness. And it's basically like in your computer. You can have ads and malware that have come in from malevolent software sources. You can have things that were programmed into the factory. You can have aspects of Windows 10 that were intentionally put in by the operators of the operating system to screw it up. And technically, this body, this brain, this neurology, these genes, this is your computer, where you can choose what you do with your computer. That's a big one. Like, you don't need my permission to fly rainbow lasagna. You don't need anybody's permission to fly rainbow lasagna. You're the owner-operator of your own body, your own organic computer, and you get to do what you want to do with it. So guess what? Religion, this puts in a lot of software viruses and a lot of human culture, the ideas of gender roles and what is romantic love and how mating and dating occurs. There's a lot of viruses in there. There's a lot of viruses in terms of capitalism and profit motive and what we consider to be appropriate action towards one another and appropriate action towards the planet. Those are all insanities. I mean, none of that is sustainable. Hello, Gina, welcome. It's good to see you. We're just about to move on to part 2. That these are all aspects of self that need to be healed. And there are some people that have supernatural infestations too, that might be non-physical entities that act through your genes or portals. Your genes are portals. This flying rainbow lasagna was a genetic oscillation and a portal that I was able to come through to come into this body in order to be here and talk to you about all this. So yes, DNA is like a portal, but we can each learn to encrypt our DNA so that just like my iPad, I use my thumbprint. I want to open up my tablet. I'm the only one that's allowed to do this. I press my thumb on there. No one else is allowed to get inside and use my ideas and my information. Same thing with my body. I encrypt my DNA. No one else is allowed to get in and use my body. And that includes biological family members. It doesn't matter if a person is biologically related to me. They don't get to tell me what to think and what to do with my body and how to act and how to stand and how to speak and what to do. And if they had cancer or diabetes, they don't get to tell me that I have to have cancer or diabetes. Or if they, went gray at age 35, they don't have to tell me that I have to have gray hair at age 35. That's their journey. They get to do what they want with their body. They get to do what I want with my body. So that's the whole idea. Flying Rainbow Lasagna, this is the ultimate tool for your own individual freedom so that you can do what you want to do with your own body. You don't need my permission, although I encourage everyone to dance like a flying rainbow lasagna. You don't need the President of the United States permission, Jesus, the Pope, mommy, daddy. You don't need anybody else's permission. You just simply, it's something you can simply do. So let me stop the recording for level 1. All right, brief pause on this.